I should have walked away the second he said it, but I didn't, and that mistake changed everything. The restaurant was loud that night. Plates clinking, people talking over each other. Normal chaos, until his voice cut through it. $5,000, he said, leaning back like he owned the air around him. If you serve me in Russian. For a second I thought I misheard. I stood there, tray in my hands, frozen. Excuse me? He smirked. Not loud, not dramatic, just sure of himself. You heard me. Someone at the table laughed. Then another. It spread. Not loud enough to cause a scene. Just enough to make me feel it. Like I was the joke. My fingers tightened around the tray. $5,000. That wasn't a tip. That was rent, bills, survival. But the way he said it, like I wasn't a person, just entertainment, I forced a smile. Is that your order, sir? He tilted his head slightly, studying me. Depends. Can you do it? I didn't answer. Not yet. I turned, walked to the kitchen, and placed the tray down harder than I meant to. Everything okay? My coworker asked. I nodded too quickly. Yeah. Just a table. I didn't explain. Because I already knew what she'd say. Ignore it. Smile. Take the money. That's what we all did. That's what I had been doing. But something about him. It didn't feel like just another rude customer. It felt personal. And I didn't even know why. I grabbed the notepad again, took a breath, and walked back out. He was still watching me. Not casually. Directly. Like he was waiting for something. I stopped at the table. Silence. Then. The words left my mouth before I could stop them. Not perfect, but clear. The table went quiet. Completely. The laughter died instantly. I didn't look at anyone else. Just him. For the first time his expression changed. It wasn't shock exactly. More like interest. Like the game just got better. He leaned forward slightly. Repeat that. My chest tightened. Not from fear. From something else. I didn't repeat it. Instead I continued. Slow. Controlled. I took his order in Russian. Every word steady, even though my pulse wouldn't calm down. No one interrupted. No one laughed. And when I finished, silence again. Then a low whistle from someone at the table. Well, didn't expect that. Neither did he. I could see it. Just for a second. Before the smirk came back. Different this time. Sharper. Impressive. I didn't respond. I just wrote down the order. My hands were steady now. Too steady. Like something inside me had switched off. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a stack of cash. Not neatly. Casually. Like it didn't matter. He placed it on the table. 5,000, he said. Like I promised. I looked at it. Didn't touch it. Not yet. Anything else, sir? He watched me carefully. Like he was trying to figure me out now. Yeah, he said after a pause. Who taught you that? I met his eyes. For the first time I didn't feel small. Does it matter? Something flickered in his expression. Fast. Gone before I could understand it. Maybe. I picked up the money. It felt heavier than it should. Not because of the amount. Because of what it meant. I'll bring your order. I turned before he could say anything else. Walked back to the kitchen. Each step slower than the last. I set the notepad down. Then the money. And just stared at it. $5,000. For a few sentences. For proving I wasn't what he thought. I should have felt proud. Relieved. Happy. But I didn't. My chest felt tight. Like I couldn't fully breathe. Hey, my coworker said softly. You okay? I nodded again. Too fast. Yeah. She glanced at the money. Her eyes widened. Wait, is that? Tip, I said quickly. She looked at me like she wanted to ask more. But didn't. Good. Because I didn't have answers. Not yet. I picked up the plates for his order. Balanced them carefully. Normal routine. Normal job. But nothing felt normal anymore. When I walked back out, I avoided looking at his table right away. I served the other customers first. Took my time. Delayed it. I didn't know why. Maybe I didn't want to feel that look again. But eventually I had to go back. I placed the dishes down in front of him. One by one. Precise. Controlled. He didn't touch the food. Sit. The word was quiet. But firm. I froze. I'm working, I said. I know. I didn't move. I said sit. I looked around. No one was paying attention anymore. The moment had passed for them. For me, it hadn't. I'll stand. Pause. Then a small exhale from him. Almost like a laugh. You're different than I expected. I didn't answer. Because I didn't know what that meant. He picked up his glass. Didn't drink. Just held it. "What's your name?" I hesitated. Not because it was a hard question. Because suddenly, it felt like it mattered. "I'd prefer not to say." His eyebrow lifted slightly. "That's so." I nodded. Another pause. Then, "All right." That surprised me. He didn't push. Didn't argue. Just accepted it. But his eyes didn't leave mine. Not even for a second. "You needed the money?" he said. Not a question. A statement. I swallowed. "Yes." "And you still look like you hate it." I didn't respond. Because he wasn't wrong. And I didn't want to give him that. He leaned back again. Same relaxed posture. But something had changed. Subtle. Hard to explain. "You're not just a waitress." It wasn't a compliment. It felt like an observation. I forced a small smile. "Right now I am." He shook his head slightly. "Not for long." That should have felt good. Encouraging. But it didn't. It felt like he was seeing something I wasn't ready to show. I should get back to work. I turned before he could stop me. Again. This time my steps were faster. My hands weren't steady anymore. I went straight to the back. Locked myself in the staff bathroom. And just stood there. Staring at my reflection. I looked the same. Same uniform. Same tired eyes. Same life. So why did it feel like everything shifted? I placed my hands on the sink. Cold surface. Grounding. $5,000? I whispered to myself. I should have been smiling. Instead, I felt exposed. Like he had seen through something I kept hidden. And I didn't like it. I stayed there longer than I should have. Until someone knocked. "Hey, we need you out here." "I'm coming." I took one last look at myself. Then walked out. Back to work. Back to normal. Or at least, what used to be normal. The rest of the night passed in a blur. Orders. Customers. Noise. But every now and then, I felt it. His eyes. Even when I wasn't looking. When his table finally left, I didn't watch him go. I told myself I didn't care. That he was just another customer. Just another moment. But when I went to clear the table, something stopped me. A small piece of paper. Folded. Placed exactly where I had stood earlier. I stared at it. For a few seconds. Then picked it up. My fingers hesitated before opening it. Inside. One line. Clean handwriting. No name. No number. Just this. "You're wasting yourself here." I read it again. And again. My chest tightened. Not like before. Different. Sharper. I folded the paper slowly. Slipped it into my pocket. I didn't throw it away. I should have. But I didn't. Because for some reason, those words stayed with me more than the money ever would. And that's when I realized something I didn't want to admit. This wasn't over. Not even close. I almost sent him a message. I don't even know how I got his number, but I typed it anyway. Then I deleted it before the screen could go dark. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling like it had answers. It didn't. My phone was still in my hand. The note he left was on my chest. "You're wasting yourself here." I read it again. Still annoying. Still stuck in my head. I flipped the paper over like something else might be hiding there. Nothing. No name. No number. Just that one line. I laughed. A short, dry sound. "Of course," I muttered. "Why make it easy?" My thumb hovered over my phone again. Search his name. Except, I didn't know it. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Because somehow that made him harder to forget. I tossed the phone aside and sat up. The room felt too quiet. Too small. Like the walls were closing in with that one sentence repeating over and over. "You're wasting yourself." Am I? The question slipped out before I could stop it. I didn't answer. Because I already knew what the answer might be. And I didn't like it. I stood up, walked to the small shelf near my bed and opened the bottom drawer. I hadn't touched it in months. Maybe longer. Inside. Old notebooks. A dictionary. And a photo. I froze. My fingers brushed over it but didn't pick it up. Not yet. I reached for the notebook first. Safer. Always safer. The pages were filled with handwriting I barely recognized as mine. Russian phrases. Translations. Notes in the margins. Corrections. I flipped through quickly. Then slower. Then stopped. One sentence circled 3 times. "Don't forget who you are." My throat tightened. I closed the notebook halfway. Didn't shut it completely. Couldn't. Because closing it felt like going back. And I wasn't sure I could do that anymore. My phone buzzed. I flinched. Picked it up. Unknown number. I stared at it. Didn't answer. It rang until it stopped. Then, A message. I opened it. Next time, don't hesitate. No name. But I knew. Of course I knew. My grip on the phone tightened. I didn't reply. Not immediately. I placed the phone face down on the bed. Walked to the window. Opened it. Cold air hit my face. Good. I needed that. Because something about that message. It wasn't just confidence. It was expectation. Like he already knew I'd respond. Eventually, I crossed my arms. Stared outside. You don't know me, I whispered. But the words felt weak. Because part of me wasn't sure that was true anymore. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it. Let it buzz. Let it stop. Then, silence. That silence felt louder than the call. I turned back. Picked up the phone slowly. Another message. You looked like you had more to say. I exhaled sharply. Annoyed. Curious. Both. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Stopped. Why was this even a question? I shouldn't be replying. I knew that. So why was I still holding the phone? I looked at the notebook again. At the open page. At the words I had written myself. Don't forget who you are. Something inside me shifted. Not loudly. Just enough. I picked up the photo this time. And everything went quiet. It was old. Edges slightly bent. Colors faded. Me. Younger. Standing next to someone I hadn't allowed myself to think about in a long time. I didn't say their name. Even in my head. Because saying it made it real again. Made everything real again. The language. The past. The part of me I buried just to survive. I sat down slowly. The bed creaked under my weight. I held the photo tighter than I meant to. You would have laughed at him, I said quietly. No answer. Of course. But I could almost hear it anyway. That voice. Sure. Confident. Unapologetic. The opposite of who I had become. Or maybe, the opposite of who I allowed myself to be. My phone buzzed again. I didn't look at it this time. Instead, I grabbed the notebook and flipped to a blank page. My pen hovered, then moved. Fast. Words I hadn't written in months started flowing like they had been waiting. Russian. Messy at first. Then clearer. Stronger. Line after line. I didn't stop. Didn't think. Just wrote. Until my hand hurt. Until my breathing slowed. Until something inside me settled. I dropped the pen. Looked down at the page. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small. I felt awake. My phone buzzed again. I picked it up this time. Another message. You're ignoring me. I stared at it. Then typed. Not carefully. Not perfectly. Just honest. Maybe I don't owe you a response. I hit send before I could change it. The typing bubble appeared almost instantly. Then disappeared. Then came back. I waited. Trying not to care. Failing. Finally. Fair. That was it. One word. No argument. No push. Just acceptance. I frowned. That wasn't what I expected. I typed again. Slower this time. Why did you say that? Pause. Longer this time. I almost thought he wouldn't reply. Then. Because I've seen people waste potential before. My chest tightened slightly. Not in the same way as before. Different. More focused. I typed again. Do you say that to all waitresses? The reply came faster. No. A beat. Then another message. Just the ones who don't belong there. I stared at the screen. My reflection faintly visible over the text. Tired eyes. Loose hair. Same girl from earlier. And yet, not the same. Maybe I do belong here, I typed. The typing bubble appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. Then, do you believe that? I didn't answer. Because that question. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about me. And I didn't have a clean answer. Minutes passed. Neither of us typed. Then finally, another message. Keep the money. I frowned. I was going to anyway. Pause. Then, that's not what I meant. My fingers stilled. What do you mean? 3 dots. Gone. But, then, use it. For what? This time the reply took longer. Long enough to make me think he changed his mind. But then, for whatever you stopped doing. I sat there. So, my eyes slowly moved from the phone, to the notebook, to the photo, back to the phone. You don't know what that is. I don't need to. That response. It irritated me. And yet, it landed exactly where it shouldn't have. I placed the phone beside me. Didn't reply. Because anything I said now would feel like giving him something. And I wasn't ready for that. Instead, I looked at the notebook again. At the fresh page filled with words I thought I had forgotten. Then at the photo. Then at the money. All of it sitting in the same small space. Like pieces of a life I had split apart. My chest rose slowly. Fall. Then I reached for the money. Not the whole stack. Just one bill. Folded it once. Then placed it inside the notebook. Between the pages. A marker. A decision. Not about him. Not about the money. About me. I closed the notebook. This time fully. Not to hide it. But because I was done pretending it didn't matter. My phone buzzed one last time. I didn't rush to it. Didn't hesitate either. I just picked it up. Come. Another message. You'll prove me right. I stared at it for a long second. Then typed. No. I hit send. Before I could overthink it. Then added another line. I'll prove you wrong. I locked the phone. Placed it face down. And for the first time that night, I smiled. Not because of him. Because I finally understood something. He didn't start this. He just triggered it. And I wasn't going back to who I was before that moment. Not anymore. I laughed when the customer insulted me. Not because it was funny, because I didn't know what else to do. Smile more, he said while handing me a smaller tip than usual. You'd earn better. I nodded. Of course I did. Thank you, sir. My voice sounded normal. Too normal. Like I hadn't just been reduced to something I didn't recognize. I turned away before he could say anything else. Back to the counter. Back to the routine. My coworker leaned closer. You okay? I gave her the same answer I always gave. Yeah. She didn't believe me. I could tell. But she didn't push either. No one ever did. Because I never let it go that far. That was my skill. Not reacting. Not breaking. Not making it uncomfortable for anyone else. Even when it was already unbearable for me. The rest of the shift dragged. Not slow enough to notice. Just heavy. Like I was carrying something I couldn't put down. Every voice felt louder. Every laugh felt directed at me. Even when it wasn't. Or maybe it was. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't check it. Not yet. I already knew who it might be. And I didn't trust myself to respond the way I should. So I kept moving. Table to table. Order to order. Smile to smile. Until my face started to hurt from holding it. By the time my shift ended, I felt empty. Not tired. Not sad. Just hollow. Like someone had turned the volume down on everything inside me. I changed out of my uniform slowly. Folded it neatly. Placed it in my bag. Same routine. Same quiet. My coworker passed by. Want to grab something to eat? I shook my head. Not tonight. You sure? Yeah. Pause. Then she nodded. Okay. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow. That word felt heavier than it should. Yeah, I said softly. Tomorrow. I walked out alone. The night air hit differently. Cool. Sure. Real. I took a deep breath. Then another. But it didn't help. Something inside me still felt tight. Like I couldn't fully exhale. My phone buzzed again. I stopped walking. Just stood there on the sidewalk. Then slowly pulled it out. 3 messages. All from him. I opened the first one. You disappeared. Second. Did I push too far? I stared at that line longer than I expected. Then opened the third. I didn't mean to. My jaw tightened. I typed. Stopped. Deleted. Typed again. Didn't mean to what? I hit send. The reply came faster than I was ready for. Make you feel like that? I frowned. What exactly do you think I felt? Pause. Longer this time. Then. Like I was testing you. I let out a small breath. That's exactly what you did. Another pause. Then. Yeah. No defense. No excuse. Just that. I didn't know what to do with that kind of answer. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. Didn't reply. Because continuing this conversation felt like opening something I couldn't close. And I was already too close to losing control. I walked home faster than usual. Didn't look around. Didn't stop. Just moved. Like if I slowed down, everything would catch up to me. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. When I reached my door, I stood there for a second. Key in hand. Breathing uneven. Then I unlocked it. Stepped inside. Closed the door behind me. And that's when it hit. Not slowly. Not gently. All at once. I dropped my bag. Didn't even make it to the bed. I slid down against the door, my knees giving out like they couldn't hold me anymore. My chest tightened so hard I had to press my hand against it. Like that would help. Like I could physically hold everything in. But I couldn't. The first tear came without warning. Then another. Then I couldn't stop. I covered my mouth trying to stay quiet, like someone might hear me, like I wasn't alone in an empty room. My shoulders shook. My breathing broke into uneven pieces. I wasn't crying because of him. Not just him. It was everything. Every time I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. Every time I accepted less because I thought I had no choice. Every moment I made myself smaller just to fit into a life that never felt right. "I'm so tired," I whispered. The words barely made it out. I pressed my forehead against my knees, tried to slow down, tried to breathe, but it felt like I was drowning in something I couldn't see. Minutes passed, or maybe longer. I didn't check. I didn't move, until the tears stopped on their own. Not because I felt better, because I ran out. I sat there in silence. My eyes burned. My head felt heavy. But something else, something different, started to settle in. Not sadness. Not exactly. More like clarity. I pushed myself up slowly, my legs unsteady at first. Then I walked to the bathroom, turned on the light, and looked at myself. Really looked. Not the quick glance I usually gave. Not the version I showed everyone else. Just me. My eyes were red. My hair a mess. My face tired. But that wasn't what caught my attention. It was the expression. Empty. Like I had been watching my own life instead of living it. I leaned closer to the mirror. "Who are you?" I asked quietly. No answer. Of course. But this time the silence didn't feel normal. Felt wrong. Because I should have had an answer. And I didn't. I straightened up, wiped my face with the back of my hand. And for the first time, I didn't look away. "I don't like this," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "I don't like who I've become." The words felt heavy, but real. I gripped the edge of the sink, tighter this time. Not for balance, for control. I didn't come this far just to disappear. My reflection didn't change, but something inside me did. Slight, quiet, but there. I walked back into my room, picked up the notebook, opened it. The page with the Russian words stared back at me. "Don't forget who you are." "I didn't forget," I whispered. "I just stopped using it." That felt worse somehow, because forgetting isn't always a choice. But this was. I grabbed a pen, sat down, and started writing again. Not perfectly, not neatly, but honestly, line after line, until my hand steadied, until my thoughts lined up, until the noise inside me quieted. My phone buzzed again. I didn't check it. Not this time. This moment wasn't about him. It wasn't about anyone else. It was about me. And I wasn't letting anything interrupt it. I kept writing, until one sentence stood out. Clear. Unshaken. "I won't stay like this." I stared at it, then underlined it. Once, twice, 3 times. Because this wasn't just a thought. It was a decision. I closed the notebook slowly, placed it beside me, then leaned back against the wall. Exhausted, but not empty anymore. Different, like something had shifted into place. I picked up my phone, finally, opened his messages, read them again. "You disappeared." Did I push too far? I didn't mean to. I typed, stopped, deleted, then typed again. "You didn't break me." I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over send. Then, I pressed it. A second later, I added another line. "But you woke something up." I locked the phone. Didn't wait for a reply. Didn't need one. Because this time, I wasn't reacting. I was deciding. And that changed everything. I stopped replying to him. Not because I lost interest, because I didn't trust what I might say next. His last message stayed unread. Not unopened. Unread. There's a difference. I saw the notification. I just didn't give him the satisfaction of knowing I did. Days passed. Then a week. He didn't text again. That surprised me more than it should have. I thought he would push, ask questions, break the silence. But he didn't. And somehow, that made it harder. Because now the space between us felt intentional. Like we were both waiting. For what, I didn't know. So I filled that silence with something else. Or, not just the restaurant. Myself. It started small. I woke up earlier. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to see who I was without rushing. The first morning I just sat there. Blank notebook in front of me. Pen in hand. No idea what to write. So I didn't. I just looked at the page. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Then finally. One line. Start. That was it. No plan. No perfect system. Just start. The next morning I wrote 2 lines. Then a paragraph. Then pages. Messy. Unfiltered. But real. At night after work, I opened the Russian notebook again. Not casually this time. With intention. I practiced pronunciation out loud. Quiet at first. Then clearer. Stronger. Sometimes I'd stop mid-sentence. Frustrated. Why did I stop this? No answer. Only the sound of my own voice echoing back at me. I didn't like how rusty I sounded. But I kept going. Because stopping again. That wasn't an option anymore. One night I recorded myself. Played it back. Cringed instantly. That doesn't even sound like you. I almost deleted it. Instead I saved it. A reminder. Of where I was starting from. At work nothing looked different. Same uniform. Same tables. Same customers. But something subtle shifted. Not outside. Inside. I stopped apologizing when things weren't my fault. Small thing. But noticeable. Sorry for the delay. I caught myself. Paused. No, actually, thank you for waiting. The customer blinked. Like they didn't expect that. Neither did I. But I didn't take it back. Another day. A man snapped his fingers to call me. Before I would have rushed over. Smiled. Pretended it didn't bother me. This time. I didn't move. I finished what I was doing. Then walked over. Slow. Controlled. Yes. He frowned. Didn't you hear me? I did. Pause. Then he leaned back. Studying me. Like something felt different. Right? He muttered. I walked away before he could say more. My hands weren't shaking. That was new. Very new. My coworker noticed it before anyone else. You've been different lately. I kept wiping the counter. Different how? She shrugged. Quieter. But not in a bad way. I glanced at her. That's specific. She laughed lightly. I don't know. It's like you stopped trying to prove something. That made me pause. Because she wasn't wrong. I think I just got tired, I said. I didn't answer right away. Then, explaining myself. She nodded slowly. Fair. No judgment. No pressure. Just understanding. That felt rare. That night I stayed late after my shift. Not working. Just sitting at one of the empty tables. Notebook open. Going through numbers. Basic business concepts. Things I had once known. Things I had once been good at. Now, they felt distant. Like a language I almost forgot. I rubbed my temple. This used to make sense. Then it will again. I froze. That voice. Not his. I turned. A man stood near the counter. Older. Calm. Watching me like he had been there longer than I noticed. I didn't hear you come in. He gave a small smile. That's because you weren't listening. I blinked. Fair. Sorry, we're closed. I know. He nodded toward my notebook. You're not working restaurant math. I closed it slightly. Just reviewing things. He stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough to see the page. You're skipping steps. I frowned. I am? He pointed. Here. And here. I followed his finger. He was right. I missed something obvious. How did you? I've seen this before. Pause. People trying to remember what they used to be. That hit harder than it should have. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. He straightened. You'll get there faster if you stop pretending you're starting from zero. I'm not pretending. You are. His tone wasn't harsh. Just certain. You're afraid to admit you already know this. I crossed my arms. That's not. Try again. I stopped. Because arguing felt pointless. He wasn't guessing. He was observing. I exhaled slowly. Maybe. He nodded. Better. He turned slightly. Same time tomorrow? I blinked. What? You'll be here again. Not a question. A statement. I might not be. You will. He started walking away. Then paused. Bring a calculator next time. And just like that, he left. No introduction. No explanation. I stared at the door for a second. Then looked down at my notebook. At the mistakes he pointed out. At the parts one skipped. I grabbed my pen. Fixed them. One by one. And something clicked. Not fully. But enough. Okay, I whispered. That makes sense. I leaned back slightly. A small smile forming. Not big. But real. The next night, I came back. Of course I did. Same table. Same notebook. This time. With a calculator. He showed up 10 minutes later. Sat across from me without asking. Good, he said, noticing the calculator. I raised an eyebrow. You're very confident. I'm usually right. I almost smiled. Almost. We worked in silence at first. Then, you rush when you're unsure. I glanced up. I don't rush. You just did. I looked back down. Annoyed. Focused. Correcting. Better, he said after a minute. Stop saying that. Then stop needing it. I exhaled. Half frustrated. Half motivated. This continued for days. No personal questions. No unnecessary conversation. Just work. Corrections. Progress. And something else. Respect. Not given. Earned. Slowly. Quietly. At home I kept practicing Russian. Louder now. Clear. Sometimes I'd catch myself smiling mid-sentence. Not because it was easy. Because it felt right. Like something was falling back into place. My phone stayed quiet. His messages, still there. Unread. Unanswered. I didn't delete them. But I didn't go back either. Because this, what I was building, didn't need him. Not anymore. But sometimes, late at night, I'd hear his voice. You're wasting yourself here. And instead of feeling small, pushed me forward, faster, stronger. One night, after hours of studying, I looked at myself in the mirror again. Same mirror. Different expression. Not empty. Not lost. Focused. Sure. Okay, I said quietly. I see it now. Not everything. Not fully. But enough. Enough to keep going. Enough to not stop. I picked up my phone. Opened his chat. Scrolled through the messages. Then finally, I typed. Not a paragraph. Not an explanation. Just one line. I'm not wasting anything anymore. I stared at it. Then hit send. This time, I didn't lock the phone right away. I waited. Watched. The message delivered. See. 3 dots appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. Then, nothing. No reply. No reaction. Just silence. I frowned slightly. Not hurt. Just curious. Then my phone buzzed. Not a message. A call. Unknown number. My chest tightened slightly. I answered. Hello. Pause. Then his voice. Lower than I remembered. Less controlled. Say something in Russian. I blinked. What? Anything. Silence stretched between us. I could hear his breathing. Uneven. Not confident. Not calm. Different. I straightened slightly. Then spoke. Clear. Fluent. No hesitation this time. A full sentence. Not simple. Not basic. Strong. When I finished, he didn't respond immediately. Just silence. Then a quiet exhale. Yeah. That was all he said. No jokes. No challenge. Just that. I waited. But he didn't continue. So I did. You were wrong. Pause. Then. I know. That answer. It landed deeper than I expected. I didn't reply right away. Because for the first time, he didn't sound like someone in control. He sounded like someone catching up. And that changed something. Not everything. But enough. I ended the call first. Not out of anger. Out of choice. I placed the phone down slowly. Looked at my notebook. At my progress. At myself. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was trying to become someone new. I felt like I was finally returning to who I was. But better. Stronger. Unrecognizable. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet thought settled in. Next time he sees me, he won't be the one asking questions. I will. For the first time, he didn't interrupt me. That's when I realized something had changed. Not him, me. Excuse me, I said, calm but firm, placing the receipt on the table. You were charged correctly. The customer opened his mouth, closed it, looked at the bill again, then at me. Right. No argument. No raised voice. Nothing. He just accepted it. I nodded once, walked away. And only when I reached the counter did I notice. My hands weren't shaking. Not even slightly. Okay, I whispered under my breath. That's new. My coworker leaned against the counter, watching me. That guy always argues. Not today. She tilted her head. What did you say to him? Nothing special. She didn't believe me. I didn't explain. Because I didn't fully understand it myself. It wasn't what I said. It was how I said it. That difference. People felt it. Even if they couldn't explain it. The shift didn't happen overnight. But once it started, it didn't stop. Customers listened when I spoke. Not because I was louder. Because I was certain. Small difference. Big impact. Can I get this changed? One woman asked, pointing at her plate. I looked at it. Then at her. That dish comes that way. Pause. Usually this is where I'd soften, apologize, offer something extra. Instead, I waited. She hesitated. Oh, that was it. No complaint. No attitude. Just acceptance. I walked back to the kitchen slowly. Not rushing. Not avoiding. Just moving. My manager stopped me halfway. You handled that well. I blinked. He didn't usually notice things like that. Thanks. He studied me for a second. You've improved. Simple words. But they landed. Still working on it, I said. He nodded. Keep doing whatever you're doing. Then he walked away. I stood there for a second longer than necessary. Because something about that mattered. Not the approval. The recognition. People were starting to see it. The thing I had been building quietly. The thing I didn't talk about. It was showing. Without me forcing it. Later that night I found myself moving differently. Not physically. Internally. I didn't rush to fill silence anymore. Didn't over-explain. Didn't shrink when someone looked at me too long. I just stayed. Present. Steady. And people adjusted around that. Not all of them. But enough. Enough to notice. After my shift I stayed back again. Notebook open. Numbers in front of me. Calculator beside my hand. He showed up like always. Sat across from me. No greeting. Just a glance at my work. You're faster. I practiced. I can tell. Pause. Then. You're still overthinking this part. I leaned back slightly. Am I? Yes. He pointed again. Trust your first instinct. I don't trust it yet. Then start. I exhaled. Not annoyed. Just thinking. Easy for you to say. It wasn't. That caught my attention. I looked up. For you? A small pause. Then. I made worse mistakes than this. His tone changed slightly. Less instructional. More real. I didn't push. But I noticed. And that was enough. We worked for another hour. Quiet. Focused. Then he closed my notebook. That's enough for today. I can keep going. I know. He stood up. That's why you shouldn't. I frowned slightly. That doesn't make sense. It will. And just like that, he left again. Same as always. But something about tonight felt different. I looked at the closed notebook. Then at the door. Then back down. Trust your first instinct. I repeated it quietly. I wasn't sure I believed it yet. But I didn't ignore it either. When I got home my phone buzzed. I already knew. I didn't rush to check it. I placed my bag down first. Washed my hands. Changed out of my uniform. Then, I picked up the phone. One message. From him. You're avoiding me. I stared at it. Then typed. I've been busy. 3 dots appeared. Then, with what? I glanced at my notebook on the table. Then back at the screen. Myself. The reply didn't come immediately. Which was unusual. When it finally did. That sounds different. I almost smiled. Good. Another pause. Then, are you going to tell me what you're doing? I leaned back against the chair. Thought about it. Then typed. No. Set. 3 dots. Stopped. Came back. Then. Fair. I raised an eyebrow slightly. He was doing that again. Not pushing. Not forcing. Just staying in the conversation. That doesn't bother you? I typed. A longer pause this time. Then. It does. I blinked. Honest. Unexpected. Then why aren't you asking more questions? Another delay. Then. Because I think you'd stop answering. I didn't reply right away. Because he wasn't wrong. And I didn't like that he knew that. Instead I changed the subject. You said I was wasting myself. I did. What made you think that? 3 dots. Gone. But. Then. You didn't look like someone who belonged there. My grip on the phone tightened slightly. People belong wherever they choose to be. Another pause. Then. Do you believe that now? I stared at the screen. Longer than I expected. Because that question. It wasn't simple. Not anymore. I believe I'm not staying there forever, I typed. The reply came faster. Good. That word. It felt approving. Not controlling. Not arrogant. Just certain. I didn't know how to respond to that. So I didn't. I placed the phone down. Walked to the mirror. Looked at myself again. Same routine. Different feeling. You're not staying here forever. I said it out loud this time. Not as a wish. As a fact. And that changed how it sounded. The next day at work. Something bigger shifted. Not in me. Around me. A man walked in. Not a regular. Dressed differently. moved differently. Like he was observing everything. Not judging. Just noticing. He sat alone. Corner table. Quiet. I approached. Welcome. What can I get for you? He looked up. Held my gaze a second longer than most people did. I'll decide in a moment. Of course. I stepped back. Didn't rush him. Didn't hover. Just gave space. A few minutes later I returned. Ready? He nodded. Ordered simply. But his eyes stayed on me. Not in a way that made me uncomfortable. Just attentive. Like he was measuring something. I didn't react. Just took the order. Served it. Moved on. But I felt it. That attention. Different from the usual. When he finished, he didn't call me over. Didn't signal. He waited. So I walked up on my own. Was everything all right? He placed the fork down carefully. Yes. Pause. Then. You're not meant to stay here. I froze for half a second. Not visible. But I felt it. That line again. Different person. Same observation. I kept my expression neutral. People seem to think that. He leaned back slightly. Because it's obvious. I didn't respond. Because this time. It didn't irritate me. It confirmed something. He reached into his pocket. Pulled out a card. Placed it on the table. Come by tomorrow. I glanced at it. Didn't pick it up. Why? A small smile. Because you asked that instead of saying yes. Pause. That's your answer. I looked at the card again. Still didn't touch it. I have work. You also have choices. My chest tightened slightly. Not in fear. In recognition. Because that was true. And I wasn't used to hearing it out loud. I'll think about it, I said. He nodded once. Do that. Then he stood up. Left the money. Walked out. Just like that. I stared at the card. For a few seconds. Then picked it up. Simple. Clean. No unnecessary details. Just a name. An address. And a company logo I didn't recognize. My fingers tightened slightly around it. This felt different. Bigger. Riskier. My phone buzzed. I checked it. A message from him. Something feels different today. I stared at the screen. Then at the card in my hand. Then back at the message. My thumb moved slowly. I typed. You're right. Sent. 3 dots appeared instantly. What is it? I looked at the card again. My reflection faintly visible on its surface. Then I typed. I think I just opened a door I can't close. I hit send. And for the first time, I didn't feel scared of that. I almost didn't go. I stood outside the building for 10 full minutes, doing nothing. Then I walked in like I belonged there. The glass doors opened without a sound. That alone felt wrong. Everything inside was too quiet. Too clean. Too controlled. No loud conversations. No rushed footsteps. Just people moving with purpose. Like they knew exactly where they were going. I adjusted my grip on my bag. Didn't look around too much. Because staring would give me away. And I refused to look out of place. Can I help you? The voice came from the front desk. Polite. Neutral. I walked up. I have an appointment. Name? I hesitated for half a second. Then gave it. She typed something quickly. Checked the screen. Then looked back at me. Go to the 12th floor. No questions. No doubt. Just access. That alone told me something. I wasn't being tested at the door. The test was inside. The elevator ride felt longer than it should have. Not because of time. Because of what it meant. Every second going up felt like I was leaving something behind. And stepping into something I didn't fully understand yet. The doors opened. And the air felt different. Sharper. Colder. More serious. I stepped out. A man approached me almost immediately. You're here. Not a question. Same tone as before. Observing. Measuring. Yes. He nodded once. Come with me. No introductions. No small talk. Just movement. I followed. Past glass offices. People in suits. Low voices. Focused eyes. No one looked at me for too long. But they noticed. I could feel it. Not judgment. Awareness. That I didn't fully belong here. Yet. He stopped at a table. Placed a file in front of me. Sit. I did. Opened it. Numbers. Reports. Data I hadn't seen in a long time. My eyes moved quickly. Too quickly. I forced myself to slow down. Take your time, he said. I don't need it. The words came out before I could soften them. He didn't react. Just watched. So I went through it. Line by line. Carefully. Catching patterns. Mistakes. Gaps. Not all of them. But enough. After a few minutes I looked up. There's an issue here. I pointed at a section. This doesn't match. He leaned slightly closer. Not over me. Just enough to see. Pause. Then. Explain. I did. Not perfectly. Not confidently. But clearly. Step by step. He didn't interrupt. Didn't correct. Just listened. When I finished, silence. Then he closed the file. Good. That was it. One word. But it landed heavier than any praise I had heard before. You start tomorrow. I blinked. That's it. That's it. No interview? That was the interview. I leaned back slightly. Processing. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. That answer. It wasn't careless. It was calculated, which made it more intimidating. I stood up slowly. All right. He nodded. Don't be late. I won't. I turned to leave. But he spoke again. You're going to feel out of place. I paused. Didn't turn around yet. That's normal. Then I looked back. And if I don't? A small pause. Then you're already dangerous. That line stayed with me longer than it should have. I left the building with a different kind of silence in my head. Not confusion. Not fear. Focus. Sure. Clear. My phone buzzed as soon as I stepped outside. Of course. I checked it. You disappeared again. I stared at the message. Then typed. I had something to do. 3 dots appeared instantly. What kind of something? I looked back at the building. Tall. Unreachable. Not anymore. Something that doesn't include you. Said. The reply came slower this time. Right. I frowned slightly. That response. It felt restrained. Like he had more to say. But chose not to. For the first time. He was holding back. And I noticed it. Good luck, he added. That surprised me. I didn't respond. Because I didn't know if that was genuine. Or just polite. The next day. I didn't hesitate. I walked in like I had already decided. Because I had. Same building. Same silence. Different version of me. I didn't wait at the front desk this time. I went straight to the elevator. 12th floor. The doors opened. And this time, I didn't pause. Work started immediately. No orientation. No slow introduction. Just tasks. Real ones. Important ones. I made mistakes. Of course I did. But I didn't hide them. I fixed them. Fast. Learned faster. Too slow, he said once. I didn't argue. I adjusted. Better. That became the pattern. Correction. Adjustment. Progress. No comfort. But also, no doubt. Days passed. Then weeks. I stopped noticing the difference between me and them. Because I was too busy keeping up. Then, catching up. Then, matching. People started speaking to me differently. Not politely. Not casually. Directly. Like I was part of it now. Not outside of it. One afternoon. I was reviewing a report near the main conference area. Voices filled the room. Serious. Tense. I didn't look up. Not my place. Until a familiar tone cut through everything. Calm. Controlled. Sure. I froze. Just for a second. Then slowly looked up. Across the glass. There he was. Same posture. Same presence. Same quiet control. But something was off. He didn't look at me. Not once. Not even by accident. Like I wasn't there. My chest tightened slightly. Not from hurt. From realization. He didn't recognize me. At all. I leaned back slightly. Watched him instead. The way he spoke. The way people listened. The way the room shifted around him. This was his world. Fully. And for the first time. I wasn't standing outside of it. I was inside. And he had no idea. That thought sent something sharp through me. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Something in between. Something quieter. More dangerous. Because now, the power wasn't one-sided anymore. I looked back down at my report. Continued working. Like nothing had happened. Because reacting would give it away. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. Later, as the meeting ended, I packed my things slowly. Deliberately. Timing it. So I'd pass by the exit just as they walked out. Not too obvious. Not too forced. Just natural. The door opened. Voices spilled out. I stepped forward at the same time. And for a brief second, we crossed paths. Close enough to notice. Far enough to ignore. His eyes flicked toward me. Just for a moment. Then away. No pause. No recognition. Nothing. I kept walking. Didn't turn. Didn't slow down. But my pulse didn't stay steady, because that moment, it confirmed everything. I had changed. Enough to stand in front of him and not be seen. And that meant something bigger than I expected. Because next time, I wouldn't be the one wondering if he recognized me. He would. "I've seen you before." He said it casually, like it didn't matter. But he didn't look away this time. I didn't answer. I just kept flipping through the report in my hands. "Have you?" I said without looking up. My voice stayed even, controlled, like this moment meant nothing. But inside, something shifted. Not panic, not excitement, just focus. Because this was the moment. A chair moved across from me. He sat down, uninvited, confident, still the same. "You worked at a restaurant," he added. Not a question. Closer now. I tapped my pen lightly against the page. Stopped. Then looked up. Straight at him. Yes. No hesitation. No pretending. Just truth. And that's when it happened. That flicker. Recognition. It didn't hit him all at once. I could see it building. Piece by piece. The memory connecting. The image adjusting. Until his expression shifted. Slightly. But enough. Right? Silence settled between us. Not awkward. Not comfortable either. Just sharp. He leaned back a little, studying me differently now. Not like before. Not like someone evaluating a stranger. Like someone recalculating. "You look different." I held his gaze. "People say that." Pause. Then. "You didn't tell me." I almost smiled. "Tell you what?" "That you were." He stopped himself. Didn't finish the sentence. Good. Because I wasn't going to help him. "You didn't ask," I said. Simple. Clean. No edge. But it landed. I saw it in the way his jaw tightened slightly. Not anger. More like adjustment. He wasn't used to this version of me. Neither was I. "Fair?" he muttered. Then silence again. But this time, he didn't break it immediately. He just looked at me. Like he was trying to match this version with the one in his memory. "You've been here long?" he asked. "A while." "How long is a while?" "Long enough." I went back to my report. Not dismissing him. Not engaging further either. Just continuing. That seemed to bother him more than anything I could have said. "You're not going to ask me anything?" I didn't look up. "No." "Why not?" I turned a page slowly. "Because I already know enough." That made him pause. "For real this time? What do you think you know?" I looked up again. Met his eyes. "You like testing people." A small shift in his posture. Barely noticeable. "You don't like when the outcome surprises you." Another pause. "And you're not used to someone not reacting the way you expect." Silence. Longer this time. He didn't interrupt. Didn't deny it. Just sat there, taking it in. "That's your analysis?" he asked finally. I tilted my head slightly. "Is it wrong?" He let out a quiet breath. Almost a laugh. "No." That word came out slower than before. Less confident. More aware. I leaned back slightly. Not challenging. Not pushing. Just steady. For the first time. He didn't control the rhythm of the conversation. I did. "You handled that situation well?" he said after a moment. I raised an eyebrow. "Which one?" "The restaurant." I didn't react. Didn't soften. Didn't revisit it. That was a long time ago. It wasn't that long. It was enough. Pause. Then. "You didn't take it personally?" I looked at him carefully. "That's what you think?" Another flicker. He caught it this time. The gap. The thing he missed. I mean. He stopped. Adjusted. "You handled it professionally." "Better. But still not right." I closed my notebook. Slowly. Placed the pen on top. "Let me ask you something." He leaned forward slightly. Listening. Not interrupting. "When you said that." I didn't repeat his words. I didn't need to. "You thought it was just a joke?" Pause. "Not long. But enough. I thought it was harmless. Honest. Too honest. And that hit harder than anything else. Because it meant he didn't even see the damage. Not at the time." I nodded once. "That explains it." His eyes narrowed slightly. "What does that mean?" I stood up. Collected my things. "It means you weren't paying attention." I started to walk away. But he spoke again. "Wait." I stopped. Didn't turn immediately. Then slowly. I looked back. "What?" His expression wasn't the same anymore. Less composed. More unsettled. "I didn't mean it like that." I studied him for a second. Not his words. His tone. The slight tension in his shoulders. The way he didn't fully meet my eyes. You didn't mean to what? Pause. Longer this time. Then. Make you feel less. There it was. Not perfect. Not polished. But real. And that mattered. But I didn't show it. Not yet. I nodded slightly. Intent doesn't change impact. His jaw tightened again. Not defensive. Just processing. I get that. I didn't respond. Because I wasn't sure he fully did. Not yet. And I wasn't going to explain it for him. That's why you're here? He asked. To prove something? I shook my head. No. Then what? I held his gaze. For me, that answer landed differently. I could tell. Because he didn't respond right away. He just looked at me. Like he was seeing something new. Not just the change. The reason behind it. That's better, he said quietly. I almost laughed. Better than what? Than doing it for someone else. Pause. Then he added, or because of me. There it was. That layer. Not arrogance. Awareness. And maybe a hint of something else. Regret? Not fully. Not clearly. But it was there. Underneath. I didn't need you, I said. Come. Clear. But you were useful. That line. It hit. I saw it. Not like before. This wasn't about ego. This was about something deeper. Something he didn't expect. He leaned back slowly. Ran a hand through his hair. First time I had seen him lose that perfect control. Just a little. Yeah, he said quietly. I can see that. Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Not tense. Not sharp. Just real. Uncomfortable. But honest. I picked up my bag. Turned to leave again. This time, he didn't stop me immediately. But just before I reached the door. Hey. I paused. Didn't turn fully. Just enough. Yes. A small pause. Then. You're not wasting yourself anymore. I didn't answer right away. Because that line. It came back full circle. From him. But different now. Quieter. Less certain. More respectful. I nodded once. No. Then added. And next time you say something like that. A slight pause. Just enough to hold the moment. Make sure you understand what it means first. I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't wait for a response. Because I didn't need one. Not anymore. But as I stepped into the hallway, I realized something I hadn't expected. He didn't just recognize me. He understood something. Not everything. But enough to start changing how he saw me. And that was more powerful than I planned. Because now, he wasn't looking down at me anymore. He was trying to figure me out. I pressed ignore. His call kept ringing anyway. That was new. I stared at my phone for a second longer than I should have, then flipped it face down. Work didn't stop just because someone couldn't handle being ignored. And lately, he couldn't. The office felt different that week. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just off. Conversations ended when certain names came up. Doors stayed closed longer. People who used to walk confidently now checked their surroundings before speaking. Something was shifting. And no one wanted to say it out loud. I noticed it in small ways first. Emails being rewritten. Meetings being delayed. Decisions being questioned twice. Not normal. Not for a place built on control. I sat in the conference room reviewing numbers. Again. Because they didn't match. They kept not matching. And that wasn't a mistake. Something wrong? I didn't look up. Yes. A chair moved beside me. Too close. I already knew who it was. You're going to ignore me all day? He asked. I kept my eyes on the screen. I'm working. That's not an answer. I finally looked at him. It is today. Pause. He exhaled quietly. Not annoyed. Just adjusting again. I called you. I saw. And? I didn't answer. I noticed. Silence. Short. Tight. Why? He asked. I tilted my head slightly. Do you need something work-related? Another pause. Different this time. No. Then it can wait. I went back to the screen. That should have ended it. It didn't. You've been avoiding me. I didn't respond immediately. Because that word, avoiding, it wasn't wrong. But it wasn't complete either. I've been prioritizing, I said. Over me. I met his eyes again. Yes. No hesitation. No softening. That landed. I saw it in the way his posture shifted. Not defensive. Just hit. Before he could say anything else. The door opened. Voices entered with it. Sure. Tense. Numbers don't add up. That's what I've been saying. Then why was this approved? I leaned back slightly. Wash. Didn't speak. He stood up. Instant shift. From personal to controlled. What exactly doesn't add up? He asked. They handed him the file. The same one. Of course. I watched his expression as he read. Not dramatic. Not obvious. But I could see it. The slight tightening. The pause between pages. You signed this, someone said. Not accusing. But close. I reviewed it, he corrected. That's not the same. Silence. Heavy. I looked down at my notes. The corrections I had already marked. The inconsistencies. The things no one wanted to say first. You missed it, another voice added. That one. That one had an edge. He didn't react immediately. Just closed the file slowly. I see it now. Simple. But not weak. That was the first crack. Not loud. Not public. But real. The meeting ended without resolution. Which never happened before. People walked out faster than they walked in. Like staying longer would expose something. I stayed seated. Didn't rush. Didn't follow. You knew, he said behind me. I didn't turn. I suspected. You didn't say anything. I closed my notebook. I wasn't asked. That answer again. Plain. Sure. That's not how this works. I stood up. Turned to face him. Then maybe it should. Pause. Longer this time. You're part of this team. And I'm doing my part. That includes speaking up. When it matters. His jaw tightened slightly. And this didn't matter? I held his gaze. It mattered enough for me to fix it. I tapped the file lightly. Before it gets worse. That shifted something. Not anger. Something else. You already fixed it? He asked. Mostly. Why? I didn't answer right away. Because the real answer. It wasn't simple. Because I don't let things fall apart if I can stop it. He watched me carefully. Like he was trying to understand the difference. Between what I said. And what I didn't. This is bigger than a mistake, he said quietly. I know. Silence again. Then. People are starting to pull back, he added. Not as a statement. More like, admitting it. I noticed. Of course you did. That wasn't sarcasm. That was recognition. They don't trust the system right now, he said. They don't trust you, I corrected. That hit. Harder than before. He didn't argue. Didn't deny it. Just accepted it. That's what this is? He asked. Karma. The word hung there. Between us. I almost smiled. Almost. I didn't do anything. That's not what I asked. I stepped closer. Not aggressively. Just enough. You think everything is about control. Pause. Sometimes things fall apart on their own. He held my gaze. Unblinking. And you're just watching? I considered that. For a second. Not just watching. I picked up the file. Handed it to him. I'm learning. Another pause. Different. Because that answer. It wasn't what he expected. And what are you learning? He asked. I stepped back. Creating space again. That even people who think they see everything. A small pause. Miss what matters most. Silence. Deep this time. He looked down at the file. Then back at me. You're enjoying this. I shook my head. No. Doesn't look like it. I met his eyes again. It looks like I'm prepared. That ended it. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just clearly. My phone buzzed again. Same name. Different message. Can we talk? I stared at it. Then typed slowly. About what? The reply came faster this time. Not here. I looked up. He was still watching me. You can say it here, I said. He shook his head. No. That was new. Not control. Not confidence. Something else. Something uncertain. I picked up my bag. Walked past him. Then maybe it's not important enough. I didn't stop. Didn't look back. But just before I reached the door. Everything's starting to fall apart, he said. I paused. Not because I needed to. Because I wanted to hear how he said it. And that wasn't control anymore. That was pressure. Real. I turned slightly. Then hold it together, I said. A small pause. If you can. I walked out. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was chasing anything. I was ahead of it. Because while his world was starting to crack, mine was just getting stronger. And the difference between those two things. It wasn't loud. It was quiet. But it was unstoppable. I didn't celebrate when it happened. That's what surprised me the most. No fireworks. No satisfaction. Just a quiet notification on my email, and everything changed. Effective immediately, you will be overseeing the project review board. I read it twice. Not because I didn't understand, but because I didn't believe it. A few months ago I was invisible here. Now, people were waiting for my approval before moving forward. The first time I walked into that room as her, the atmosphere changed. Not loud, not obvious, but I felt it. Eyes shifted, posture straightened, voices softened just a little. And then I saw him. He was already there, waiting. Our eyes met for half a second. No surprise on his face, but something else. Recognition, mixed with calculation. He stood up slightly. Not fully, just enough to acknowledge. "Morning," he said. Careful, controlled, different. I nodded once. "Morning." Then I sat down at the head of the table. That was the moment it changed. Not for me, for him. I didn't announce anything. I didn't need to. The seat did it for me. Silence stretched. People waited. For direction. For permission. From me. I opened the file in front of me. Calm. Steady. Like I had always belonged there. "Let's begin," I said. And they did. The meeting moved. Fast. Structured. But I noticed something else. They were listening differently. Not just hearing. Listening. And him. He didn't interrupt once. Not even when he normally would. He watched me instead. Carefully. Like he was adjusting to a version of me he didn't plan for. After the meeting, people left quickly. Too quickly. Like they were escaping something they didn't understand yet. Only he stayed behind. "You've changed positions fast," he said. Not accusing. Not impressed either. Just observing. "I worked for it," I replied. Pause. "I know." That answer surprised me. Not the words. The tone. There was no challenge in it anymore. Just acceptance. He leaned slightly against the table. Not relaxed. Not tense. Somewhere in between. "Does it feel different?" he asked. I didn't answer immediately. Because the truth wasn't simple. "Yes," I said finally. "Not how I expected." He nodded slowly. I thought it would feel like victory. That made me look at him more carefully. And? It doesn't. Silence. For a second, neither of us spoke. Because that was too honest. From both sides. "I noticed something," he said after a while. I raised an eyebrow. "You're not doing this like before." "Before?" "When you were reacting." I closed the file in front of me. Slowly. "I'm not reacting anymore." That landed. I saw it. Because now, he didn't have a frame for me. Not anger. Not victim. Not outsider. Something else entirely. "You're making decisions," he said. "Yes." "And people follow them." "Yes." Another pause. Then, "That changes things." "It already has." He looked at me for a moment longer than usual. Not studying. Not analyzing. Something closer to uncertainty. Then, "Do you enjoy it?" I didn't answer immediately. Because that question. It wasn't about work. It was about me. "I don't know yet," I said finally. That was the most honest answer I had given in a long time. He nodded slowly. "Fair." Then he added, "I think you're better at this than you think." That shouldn't have affected me. But it did. Just slightly. Because it wasn't forced. It wasn't strategic. It was real. I grabbed my bag. Ready to leave. But before I turned. "You're different too," I said. He looked up. "Am I?" "Yes." Pause. "Good or bad?" he asked. I studied him. Not quickly. Not emotionally. Just honestly. "Neither," I said. "Complicated." That made him exhale quietly. Almost like he expected that answer. "I can live with that," he said. I turned to leave. But then, "My offer still stands," he added. I stopped. Slowly turned back. "What offer?" "To talk." Pause. "Properly." I looked at him for a long moment. Because I knew what that meant. Not business. Not surface level. Something deeper. Something unfinished. "I'll think about it," I said. And walked out. But I didn't feel what I expected. Not power. Not revenge. Not even satisfaction. Something heavier. More complicated. Because power doesn't erase the past. It just changes how you carry it. And I was still learning that. I didn't plan it. That's the truth. Just happened. We were alone in the office after hours. No meetings. No staff. No distractions. Just silence. And him. "You've been avoiding this," I said. He didn't deny it. That was new. I wasn't avoiding you, he said quietly. Just the timing. I almost laughed. That sounds like the same thing. He nodded slightly. Maybe it is. Silence settled between us. He didn't rush to fill it. Neither did I. That alone felt different. I sat down across from him. Not far. Not close. Just enough. I need to say something, I said. He looked at me. Fully now. Go ahead. I took a breath. Not shaky. Not emotional. Just steady. That day, I said. Back then. Pause. You said something you probably forgot the moment after. He didn't interrupt. But I didn't. That hit differently. I saw it in his expression. Not guilt yet. Recognition. I didn't mean it the way it sounded, he said. I nodded slightly. I believe you. That surprised him. But it still happened. Silence again. I continued. You didn't see me. He looked down slightly. Not away. Just lower. I see that now, he said. No, I corrected softly. You see me now. That distinction mattered. Pause. I didn't think it would stay with you, he said. That honesty. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished. It was messy. Good. It did, I replied. He leaned forward slightly. I was wrong. No hesitation. No defense. Just admission. That was the first crack I hadn't expected. Not because he was guilty, but because he meant it. I never thought about how it would land, he added. I watched him carefully. And now? I asked. Pause. Longer this time. Now I think about it too much. That should have felt like closure. It didn't. It felt like weight shifting. I didn't come here for an apology, I said. I know. Then why are we here? He didn't answer immediately. And when he did, it wasn't confident. It wasn't controlled. Because I can't undo it, he said. Not even in my head. Silence. I looked away for a second. Just one. Because that answer. It wasn't what I expected. I kept thinking you were just gone from my life, he continued. I looked back. But you weren't. Pause. You were still here. That made something shift inside me. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But understanding. Not of the action. Of the consequence. You don't get to carry that now, I said quietly. I know. Another pause. But I do. That was the moment everything stopped being simple. Because he wasn't asking to be forgiven. He was just admitting it existed. And that changed the shape of everything. I stood up slowly. I don't know what this is anymore, I said. He looked up at me. Neither do I. Honest again. No strategy. No control. Just two people stuck in something unfinished. I walked toward the door. Then stopped. Without turning fully. You weren't the villain, I said. Pause. Just careless. Silence behind me. Then. I can live with that too, he said quietly. I didn't respond. I left. But this time, I didn't feel like I was walking away from him. I felt like I was walking away from the version of him I used to hate. And I wasn't sure yet what replaced it. I didn't open the door right away. His knock stayed in the air longer than it should have. Not loud. Not impatient. Just steady. Like he knew I was there. When I finally did open it, he wasn't holding anything. No flowers. No speech. No performance. Just himself. That was new. I wasn't sure you'd open, he said. I leaned against the doorframe. Then you shouldn't have come. Pause. He nodded slightly. Fair. Silence settled between us. Different from before. Less tension. More weight. I wanted to talk, he said. I know. And you still opened the door. I didn't answer that. Because I didn't know why I did. He looked at me for a moment. Not scanning. Not analyzing. Just present. I've been trying to fix things, he said quietly. I noticed. Not with money, he added quickly. I almost smiled at that. Good. That seemed to matter to him. He nodded once. I started listening more. Pause. Not just to people who agree with me. That line stayed longer than I expected. I stepped aside slightly. Not inviting him in. Just letting the conversation continue. Why? I asked. He hesitated. Not because he didn't know. Because he wasn't used to saying it out loud. Because I kept thinking about what you said, he admitted. I tilted my head. That I didn't see you? He nodded. And you were right. No defense. No soft landing. Just truth. That should have felt satisfying. But it didn't. It felt heavier. He continued. I didn't realize how much I missed in people. I crossed my arms. People don't usually like realizing that. No, he said. But it matters. Silence. Then he added, I changed some things in how I run things. I watched him carefully. Because of me? I asked. He shook his head immediately. No. Pause. Because I should have done it anyway. That answer was different. Not emotional. Not strategic. Responsible. I nodded slowly. Good, I said. He looked at me longer this time. You're not making this easy, he said. I almost laughed. When did I ever? That made something shift in his expression. Not amusement. Recognition. A faint breath left him. No, he admitted. You didn't. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was honest. I don't expect forgiveness, he said quietly. I looked at him fully now. That's good, I replied. He blinked slightly. Why? Because I don't have it to give yet. That landed. Harder than anything before. But he didn't react the way I expected. No frustration. No retreat. Just acceptance again. I understand, he said. And he meant it. That was the problem. Because part of me, a small part one didn't fully control, wanted him to fight for it. But he wasn't fighting. He was standing. Waiting. Changing. And that confused something inside me. I used to think you were the reason everything changed, I said quietly. He didn't interrupt. But I realize something now. Pause. I changed before you did anything right. His eyes stayed on me. I changed because I had to. That sentence felt final. Not dramatic. Just real. He nodded slowly. I see that. Another silence. Longer this time. Then. I don't want to take anything from you, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Too late for that. He didn't argue. Just accepted it again. He paused. Struggled slightly. Don't want to be the only reason you look back. That was different. Not control. Not ego. Something quieter. More human. I studied him for a long moment. You won't be, I said finally. That should have ended it. But it didn't. Because he didn't leave. And I didn't ask him to. Instead, he stepped back slightly. I'll go, he said. I nodded. But before he turned. One thing, he added. I waited. Are you happy? The question hit differently. Not invasive. Not manipulative. Just real. I didn't answer immediately. Because I had been avoiding that question myself. I'm not where I was, I said. That's not what I asked. I looked at him directly. I know. Silence. Then I added. I'm not finished yet. That made something shift in him. Not disappointment. Not relief. Understanding. Good, he said quietly. Then he turned and left. No dramatic exit. No final words. Just gone. I closed the door slowly. And stood there longer than I expected. Because I realized something uncomfortable. I didn't feel victorious anymore. I felt complete. And those two things are not the same. My phone buzzed on the table. A message. From him. I opened it. No apology. No explanation. Just one line. You didn't need me to become this. I stared at it. Long enough for my reflection to blur on the screen. Then I typed slowly. I know. Paused. Then added. But I needed everything that came before it. I didn't send it immediately. Because I wasn't sure if it was for him. Or for me. But I pressed send anyway. And for the first time. I didn't feel like I was proving anything anymore. I felt like I had already won. Not over him. Not over the past. Over the version of me that needed either of them to matter. I signed my name and didn't recognize the handwriting anymore. The office was silent, but my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. His name lit up the screen again, and I finally understood what letting go really costs. I stared at the resignation form on the desk. Ink still fresh. Like it didn't belong to me. My manager was speaking behind me something about future opportunities and leadership track. But the words didn't land properly. Everything felt slightly far away, like I was standing behind glass. My phone buzzed again. I didn't pick up. Not because I was strong in some dramatic way. I just couldn't go back into that version of myself anymore. Are you sure about this? My manager asked carefully. I nodded once. But inside nothing felt sure. Only quieter. A message popped up. We need to talk. Please. My thumb hovered. Then stopped. I set the phone face down like it was too heavy to hold. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was running from him. I felt like I was walking toward myself. The hallway outside the office was colder than I remembered. People congratulated me as I passed. Big step. You earned this. You're going to change things here. Change. That word followed me like a shadow. Because they didn't know what I was leaving behind just to stand there. In the glass reflection of the elevator doors, I saw myself properly. Not the girl from the restaurant. Not the one shaking in silence. This version stood straighter. But her eyes still remembered everything. The doors opened, and I almost stepped in, until I heard his voice behind me. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just close. I knew you'd do this. I froze. Not because I was scared. Because my body remembered him faster than my mind did. I turned slowly. He was standing at the end of the hallway. Same presence. Different silence. He looked tired in a way money couldn't fix. Like something inside him had been worn down piece by piece. I tried calling, he said. I know, I replied. Pause. That familiar space between us where everything used to break. He took a step closer. Then stopped himself like he wasn't sure he had the right anymore. I read your file, he said quietly. They're giving you control of the new division. I nodded. I didn't ask for it, I said. That's why they gave it to you, he replied. There was something in his voice now. Not arrogance. Not control. Uncertainty. He looked at me properly then, like he was seeing the distance he created, not just the person standing in front of him. I didn't come to interfere, he added quickly. I just needed to see you before. Before what? I asked. His mouth opened, closed again. That hesitation told me more than words ever could. Behind him, the city moved like nothing had ever happened. People walked past us without looking. Life didn't pause for unfinished stories. I handled things, he finally said. The board, the comments, everything that came from that night. I fixed it. I almost laughed. But it came out softer. You always thought fixing things was enough, I said. His jaw tightened slightly. I know it's not, he replied. That surprised me. Silence stretched between us again. But this time it wasn't sharp. It was honest. He looked down for a second, then back up. I didn't understand what I did to you, he said. Not until I saw you stop looking at the floor. Something in my chest shifted. Not pain. Not anger. Something quieter. I didn't stop because of you, I said. I stopped because I got tired of disappearing. That hit him differently. I saw it. Not in his face first. In his breathing. Like he'd been carrying a version of me in his mind that didn't exist anymore. I never meant to reduce you, he said, voice lower now. I was careless. And I thought you'd stay the same no matter what I said. That was your mistake, I replied. Another pause. This one heavier. He took a step closer again, slower this time. Not invading. Just hoping. I wasn't lying when I said I couldn't stop thinking about you, he admitted. I didn't react. Not because I didn't feel it. But because I refused to let that be the center of this anymore. What do you want from me? I asked. That question changed everything. I saw it in him. Because it wasn't about power anymore. It wasn't about control. It was about truth he didn't prepare for. I don't know, he said honestly. I just know I can't pretend you didn't change everything in me. My throat tightened slightly. Not pain. Just memory. All the versions of me that existed before this moment pressed quietly against each other. I'm not your lesson, I said softly. I know. Another silence. Different this time. Less tension. More distance. Like something had already ended and we were just catching up to it. I should go, I said finally. I turned toward the elevator again. But his voice stopped me one last time. Not forceful. Almost fragile. If I had met you differently, would anything change? He asked. I didn't turn back immediately. Because I needed to be honest. Not kind. Not cruel. Just real. I don't know, I said. But I know I wouldn't have found myself the way I did. That was the truth. And it settled everything. The elevator doors opened again. I stepped inside. Pressing the button felt like closing a chapter one had been rereading for too long. But just before the doors fully closed, he said one more thing. Low enough that only I could hear it. I'm sorry for the version of you I helped create. The doors almost shut. My hand stopped them for half a second. Just long enough for my voice to come out. Come. Steady. Unshaken. You didn't create me, I said. You revealed me. Then I let go. The doors closed. And for the first time, I didn't look back. But as the elevator descended, my phone lit up one final time. Unknown notification. No name. Just a subject line. Before you decide everything is over, read this. My finger hovered above it. The floor numbers kept dropping. And I realized something unsettling. Closure wasn't something he gave me. It was something I had to decide whether to accept. And I wasn't sure yet if I was done choosing.